Welcome back to Tanya in 5. The last few days we've been studying chapter 6 of book 2 of Tanya. In the preceding chapters we explained that there are two powers that work together to create our reality. The first is the divine energy that creates the divine light. Then there is the vessel, the divine power of concealment that gives the light its particular form to allow each created being to live and exist in its fashion. Now, what we understand from this is that these two forces, the creative force and the concealing force, work together. So let's zero in on that in this chapter 6. The concealing energy, the fact that God conceals his light, is actually in itself a kindness. Although it presents itself as concealment, in essence, it's really a kindness. You see, the concealment is nature. The fact that every day the world operates exactly as it did the day before. There's a certain predictability and pattern to our world. That's the concealment. That's what doesn't allow us to see the ongoing miracle of God bringing everything into being. But it's precisely this predictability that allows us to function in our world. If we were to see the daily miracle of God bringing everything into being every moment, we would not function as we are. To use an analogy, were all the rains in the heaven to drop down on our city in one fell swoop, we'd all experience a flood. In order for us to appreciate the beauty and blessing of the rain must be withheld and allow only for tiny droplets to come down at a time. So even though what's happening here is the rain is being withheld, it's really a kindness so that we can receive. In other words, there is one kindness in which one gives, and then there is a kindness in which one withholds so that the recipient can actually receive. And when the two work together, this is perfection. This is creation. God invests and gives creative force while simultaneously conceals and withholds so that we, the created beings, can actually be recipients of that energy. Now, the reason why these two opposing forces, creative, giving, withholding, concealing, these two can work together, even though they are both divine energies and therefore should be infinite, they work together because they are both come from one source. They are both God. God is both giving, creating, and simultaneously it is the same him that is withholding and concealing. And therefore, the concealment itself is divine energy as much as the creative force is divine energy. You see, it's not as if, like our soul invested in our body. Our body conceals the life of our soul, and the body is energized by the life of the soul. But the two remain distinct entities. One, the body, run by and enlivened by the second, the soul. This is true because the soul didn't create the body, it just enlivens it. It gives it vitality. Our world is in its very essence created by God. It's not just that God gives life to our world, but God is creating the world. From the beginning, its very essence is being brought into being by God. And therefore, even the fact that we don't see God is in and of itself God himself. Now, we've explained in a previous video that the name that indicates the divine creative force is the name of Yud, He, Vav, and He, expressed in the term Havaya. The name of nature, of God's concealing energy, is Elohim. Now we understand what we mean when we say at the end of Yom Kippur and we pronounce Havaya Hu Elohim. Havaya is Elohim. What we mean is the creative force and the concealing force is both one. It's you, dear God. It's all one. Whether we see you, God, it's you. And when we don't see you, God, it's also you. The takeaway from all of this is the deepest, darkest places in our world. It's not simply that we need to find the light of God, but the darkness itself, that is God. even the pain, is godly. And we hope and pray that we can experience it as such. Looking forward to seeing you when we conclude chapter 7.